Hi, this is Scott Taylor from the Stake Temple and Family History Committee with this week's family history video. As you remember, we started out in the month of June connecting with our ancestors by going into family search, reading memories, viewing pictures, looking for headstones, and connecting with our kindred dead. In the month of July, was all about preserving memories, photos, journals, all those things that will help connect generations to each other and give those generations to come a sense of belonging and an understanding of who they are. In the month of August, the theme is reserve. And we're going to start out by reserving temple ordinances for our kindred dead. And so that's what today's video is all about. So you can see I'm on the family search page and I'm going to go to temple. Now, this process is so much more simple than it used to be. At this point, I can go to my reservations, which will show the ordinances that I've reserved for future use, or I can come down to ordinances ready, but there's also a shared tab that shows where I may have shared the opportunity to do some work for family members. As I click on ordinances ready, there's a menu that pops up. You can see this, and you can determine what type of ordinance that you want to do, whether it's baptism and confirmation, initiatory, endowment, sealing to parents, or sealing to spouse. Now, one thing that I would tell you, if it's an endowment and the person hasn't been dead for at least 110 years, you have to be a direct descendant in order to reserve that ordinance, or have a shared ordinance. So sometimes you'll just click on it. If you're not a direct descendant and you click on it, it allows you to do it, then you're okay to go ahead. If you click on it and you're not a direct descendant, it hasn't been 110 years, then it will ask you a series of questions. You may need to get permission from a direct descendant to actually do that work. And so there are some things that have to be done there in order, but it will walk you through step by step what needs to happen. So what I'm going to do is click on baptism and confirmation. So it'll start out by giving you 4 opportunities to do baptisms. And you can see that they found 4 people. I'm going to view those people. You can see Andrew L. Thompson, James Rigby, Francis Stimson, and Francis Rice. And then it shows that I can view my relationship. So I'm going to go down here to James Rigby, who was born in 1695 and died in 1750. And I'm going to view my relationship. I'm going to make this smaller because there's going to be a lot of generations here. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 generations back. Here's James Rigby and Mary Lawrenson and their son, James Rigby, who is the one that I will be doing baptisms for. So I'm going to close this. And all I have to do here, I'm not actually going to reserve them right now, but if you click on take them to the temple, it will actually print out, give you the opportunity to print out cards to take to the temple. You can print them out on your printer at home. But the other thing that I would tell you is you can sit, if you're on your smartphone and you go to ordinances ready, you can actually save them to your phone. And when you get to the baptistry, they can print those off of your phone. Now, I would ask you to make sure that you turn the volume off on your phone before you go into the baptistry. The last thing we want is to have your phone ringing or noise in the temple that would detract from the spirit that is within the temple walls. So if you were doing an endowment, you could then take it into the registrar's office, your phone, turn off the sound, go into the registrar's office. They'll take your phone, they'll print out the cards for you so you can then go in and do the ordinances that you've saved, whether that's an endowment, an initiatory, a sealing, whatever that is. or you could, like I said, you can print them out at home. Brothers and sisters, this process is simple. And what I would encourage you to do is go in and reserve one or two ordinances that can be done the month that the temple opens again. I wouldn't encourage you to go in and reserve a whole bunch of ordinances because you're not going to be able to do those. And they actually have an expiration date. So, and they expire pretty quickly. I went in and saved an endowment earlier this evening, and it expires in November. So if the temple doesn't open before November, I'm going to have to go in and reserve it again. Brothers and sisters, this is the Lord's work. And there is nothing sweeter than taking your kindred dead, your ancestors, to the temple. It's one thing to take a name at the temple and go through and do an endowment or a sealing. It's a completely different thing when you take a family member. I have had many wonderful and sweet experiences in the temple with family members. I testify to you that this is the Lord's work, and that as we reserve these ordinances and take our kindred dead to the temple, that we, along with the Savior, become saviors on Mount Zion in doing work for them that is required for their eternal salvation and ours as well. It's my hope and prayer that you'll take the time this week to save a couple of ordinances for the future and make plans to go back to the temple as soon as it's open. Thank you, brothers and sisters.